I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Married to a good man for 25 years. Then came out at 46 with 6 children. I've now been married to a woman for 25 years. No regrets, except all the years I missed being truly me in my youth.
Can you tell us more about that person who gave you the catalytic change?
She was sitting at the kitchen table and she was your quintessential butch dyke lesbian.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Nobody Asks, Nobody Says. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is just to let you know that this is a follow-up episode from a previous one that we did, titled Let's Talk About Homosexuality. And we received so many likes and comments, it actually really surprised us. But there was one really special comment that stood out. So maybe I'll get Tris to read out a comment for us.
I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Married to a good man for 25 years. Then came out at 46 with 6 children. I've now been married to a woman for 25 years. No regrets, except all the years I missed being truly me in my youth. Love your stories, girls. You are beautiful and brave. Aloha nui to you. Yeah.
Wow! And she's here with us today all the way from New Zealand. Let's welcome Nina!
Thank you, girls. Lovely to be here.
I think I told you this before, when we saw your comment, I was counting like how old you are right now. That is
I know. As soon as I wrote those numbers, I thought, ooh, yeah. 70. I'm coming up. I'll be 72 in September.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's hope for you yet, girls. So a lot of years ahead of you.
Yeah, and I was telling Jo that maybe we can try to reach out to her to see if she'll be interested to do an interview with us. And of course, we were thinking that you may not see our comment. You may say no. You just ignore us. But here you are with us. Thank you so much.
I read all the comments.
Actually, I think we're curious, what did you feel after you watched our episode?
Oh, it was so cool. It was just the neatest interview. These 2 girls, and I found out you hadn't met until that moment. I just loved your stories and I laughed with you, and, it was just really lovely to hear. And the similarities and the differences between, the 2 of you, Tris and Jo, and also your perspective too, Bevelyn. They tried to turn you gay, but you were not having a bar of it.
It wasn't in my DNA.
And I think it's lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed the interview. And so I went away and watched other interviews, but I've actually watched your interview about 3 times now because I'm so interested in the stories because there's such a lot in it. And I thought, I missed that bit the first time. So I went back and have another look. And I laugh in the same places, exactly the same way. So good. You girls are hilarious, really. Tris, you're a natural comedian.
I was telling Tris, I think the views is because you were doing flashing all the time.
Sorry, guys, not today.
But you just were lovely and so natural. And I thought, gee, Asia has come a long way. Yeah. I'm just getting into the whole Asian view of things, and it's astonishing, really. I love it. All the nations in Asia, even India. There's a lot happening in that scene and pushing boundaries everywhere.
We're just curious, it took you a really long time for you to realize that, hey, you're actually attracted to women.
I'd have to tell you there, Bevelyn, I always knew. No, there was never any conflict in my mind, ever, even from a little kid. I just knew. And I did not make a big thing of that. I just knew that was there. But like these girls, you grow up in a heterosexual world and you have only certain options, and gayness and homosexuality it's not even on the radar. It's not even nobody talks about it. Nobody reads about it. I didn't even know it existed. To be honest, I didn't know any gay people. There was one man in our town. He was an older man and he drove around in a Mercedes, a big Mercedes, and everybody was scared of him because they said he liked little boys. Mm. And that was the only thing that I can ever remember, and I've gone back over it in my mind. So I grew up in a small town, and that was just, life was mum, dad, kids, and everybody had a good time. There was no overt anti-gay or anything like that. It was just not there. Simply not
but
there.
Was the word homosexuality, gay, lesbian, did they exist in your growing up years?
No. No, the language wasn't there. No. I can remember one word, and that was queer.
Oh,
That was the
wow.
only word when I've thought about it hard, I thought the only word I really remember was queer. Oh, he's queer, or she. Never a she, by the way. It's always a he. There was only, as far as I knew, there were only men.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know any women, girls, or anything in my experience. And as I grew up and TV came into our lives, there was the very oddest time that something happened. I remember seeing a Hollywood movie, back in must have been the 60s. I saw it because I was only a kid. And it was Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine, and it was called The Children's Hour. I thought it was a strange movie. She had this yearning look for this other woman, and of course it was all horrible, terrible tragedy. I can remember thinking about that movie, thinking that was really strange. That was unusual, and I was drawn to that movie. I was drawn to those characters straight away. But it was gone because in those days you saw a movie and you never saw it again.
Mm.
We didn't have replay. That's it, The Children's Hour. That's it, Tris. I heard later that was really quite controversial.
Why was it controversial?
There was a hint that the two women were in love, or one definitely loved the other, but the other one of them was too frightened or something. But it all went pear-shaped, and nothing came of it in that movie. But boy, I don't know what happened with that movie, but it was controversial. But not that we ever heard that. We never heard that. It was just came gone. But I remembered it as a child. I remembered that movie. Never around girls, but I knew who I was. I knew how I felt. I didn't like girls because didn't like dolls and dresses, but I'd rather go and play with the boys. But I was always wanting to be the boy. I
Oh,
used to make me so angry that I had all my cousins, my first cousins who I all grew up with, and they were lovely guys, but they got privileges I didn't get, and I was always such an angry person about these boys, who could go fishing and go hunting and could do stuff that girls couldn't do. That feeling I had went right through, and I just put it aside because you couldn't do anything about it. There was nothing, there was no triggers, there was no, I don't know, there was nobody I came across. And I didn't go hunting it out. I don't know why. I don't suppose I felt I could. I don't know how you girls do it, but I mean, gosh, Joe, you had lots of girlfriends. You had friends coming in one door and out the other. That was never going to happen in my town.
I
How
have
did
no
you girls
idea.
do that? Well, you lived in Singapore. You lived in a big city, though, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
city's different from a little country bumpkin town.
when you say earlier that, sort of knew from young that you are attracted to girls, like you sort of know. Did you ever question yourself?
No,
Because you
I
did
don't.
get married. You did get
I
married, have
did. I
six
did.
children.
Yeah, 6 children, and that all happened organically. If you do one thing and it seems okay, you carry on and do another thing.
Mm.
And I had reservations about getting married, but I just thought that was like so many women, and I've listened to a lot of interviews now. So many women in my era, they just thought that's how it was going to go, and they didn't have a catalyst or anybody who pushed them from that path. And I had such a happy childhood. My teenage years were great. And when I was a young adult, I had a good time. I went and worked in Auckland, which is our biggest city. And I now realize I had a bit of a crush on one of my flatmates. She's just gorgeous. And she was different, but she was really hot for men. And she was trotting around a married man, and it was all going bad. And so yeah, that wasn't ever going to be. And I'm not a pushy type. I'm not a player. I realize I'm a stayer, not a player. And so I didn't know how to navigate any of that. So I just left things as they were. And by that time I had a young farmer from my hometown pursuing me, and he would come up to Auckland in his car to take me out just for an evening. That's how
Oh,
keen he was. And he was a member of a family that I grew up around. His younger brother was in my class at school, and his another brother was a great friend of my dad's and hunted as any young man. He did hunting with my father. So my husband was one of that family, and he had a farm. And I didn't like Auckland. I was okay there. I worked well in Auckland and had a good job, but I just couldn't wait to get back out into home. I couldn't wait to get away from it. And he was my ticket home, basically. And he was a very nice guy, really nice person. He was probably my best friend all the years I was married, you know.
Oh, wow.
He was a good person and he was a great dad and a very caring father and partner. So what do you do? I mean, I was very deep in by then, you know, and I loved being a mum, absolutely loved being a mum. I didn't realize I would, but as soon as my first child came, I was right, this is me, you know.
Mm.
And away we went. So yeah, I don't know why I didn't question more until something happened. But it took a long time for something to happen. And that something was a person, like often is a catalyst, you know.
Mm.
Because I was never going to go and seek it out. It had to run into me, this person, basically. Girls, and I know you girls will get this. I was always looking. In fact, it's got tired of looking at women because it never goes away. You know, that urge to see someone and say, like you, Joe, when the senior walked past you and you're like, boom, who is
Yeah.
she? And you don't know why you even asked that question, but boom, you know? And that's how it is. And I guess it's like that for straight people. What we feel as gay people is what you would feel, Bevelyn, for,
Yeah.
a man. And I don't know why people can't understand that. It's pretty easy to understand, really. Well, we've been around since humanity's been here. I mean, we've never gone away. So it's time, you'd think we would get used to it by now, but we still have to fight the fight with that lovely gay flag behind you, Chris. Still got to get out on the streets
Happy
and
You
Pride.
mean you
yeah, you
mean
still got to
flags?
do it. I had a good family. I had good times. As a married person, I was very busy. I think that was the key to me lasting as long as I did was we were always very busy. We farmed. We were dairy farming, which is extremely busy.
Mm.
It's a 7-day week job.
Mm.
And in between that, we're having kids, the kids were coming along because I was a good Catholic girl. I was really right along, I was right down the line. I loved my mum dearly and she was my rock. Mum was the centre of our universes and she was raised by she's schooled by nuns and had a very, very conservative upbringing in the city, in a Wellington city, which is another big city. So she tied to her religion in a very, very strong way. And I wanted to do the right thing by my mum, And you do, as you do. You love your mum and you want to do the right things.
Were you from a big family? Did you have many siblings too?
No, I'm the middle. There's 3 girls and I'm the middle one. No, not a big family.
Mm.
And mum went away from the church for quite a number of years. I remember when we were just coming into our teens, she didn't go to church anymore. And I believe it was really, now I look back, and she took contraception, and that was a mortal sin in those days. The Catholic women could not have contraception. And it really made mum, must have really eaten her away, really, because she really did follow the laws and the rules of the church. But my 2 sisters, they were girly girls more than me, but we were a big extended family, Tris. I had 13, 14 first cousins in the same town as me. I know. And we were all in and out of each other's homes all the time. We ran from school to one home and then we'd run to another home. And it was just neat because, we had all these aunties and uncles. And the Sampson family, my father's family, they were a really neat family, a really happy together family. There was no issues at all. We had such a good childhood. I'm very, very lucky to have the childhood we had. But, I still haven't had a heart-to-heart with either of my sisters about being who I am. It's quite funny. They just don't broach the subject because we're a family that doesn't talk about that sort of thing.
Oh.
Even when came out to my mum and dad, I must have had the longest speech I've ever had about such a thing with them. And after that, that was it. No more talk.
Oh.
And
But you talked to your mom and dad, but not to your sisters at that time.
yes, I didn't. Yeah, I think I rang. I might have spoken to both of my sisters after that, and they were like, "Oh, okay." My younger sister was like, "Oh well, that's who you are. It's all right.
What?
I don't care." She said, "I don't mind." And my older sister was more. She had children and a husband. My younger sister's never married, so she was kind of, a little bit more on the same page as me. But my older sister, she said, "No, it's all right. No, she's okay. It's all right." And because I accepted who I was, they accepted who I was. I mean, as you asked me that question earlier, Bevelyn, about when did I know? I knew so long.
Mm.
I knew who I was and what I liked and what I wanted. that when I came out, when it happened, and I met that person who triggered it, I thought I don't have anything to apologize for here, and I didn't go through the guilt, shame phase. None of that. I look back now and went, what happened? What did I do? And I thought, well, I've just paid my dues. I've done everything I should have done. I'm not going to apologize for what's happening now. I'm not going back into that box again.
Wow.
And I just told everyone that's how it is. This is who I am. And I didn't make a big song and dance. I didn't get on my soapbox about it. But when they asked me, I told them.
But can you tell us more about that person who gave you the catalytic change? Because you sort of knew from when you were young, but because of conventional standards, you got married, have children, and then
Yep,
that person came along. So what
yep.
happened? Who is she?
She's a distant relation that I never grew up with, but I knew of. She lived in the city. We lived in a small town, and she lived in a city 25 miles away. I never had anything much to do with them. My grandmother's first cousin, evidently. They're her children. So, yeah, she just happened to be at my sister's house one day, and I came into my sister's house, and she was sitting at the kitchen table. And she was your quintessential butch dyke lesbian, like she was built like a brick. The crew cut hair and it, it should have been, I should have gone, whoa, but it was like, just,
Whoa.
yeah, it was like, I recognized that person. She knew that she'd made an impression straight away because I sat down and talked, and Julie, my sister, was fussing around and talking. She's a great talker, my sister, so she was oblivious to everything else that was going on. And Trudy and I were making eye contact, and it was like, oh dear, what am I going to do here? This is too much.
Oh my
This is a lot. And I don't know how it continued, but I wangled all kinds of things to be around her. And then she cottoned on pretty quick, and yeah, we just find she was a truck driver. Oh, talk about, stereotype. She was a truck driver. She had, her father had a business, and she'd inherited it, and it was a good business. And she was driving trucks all around the city, doing different jobs and things. And I found out where she was. And I thought, okay, here's me in my car, probably just, I don't know what, going to get groceries or something. And there she is. Okay, stop the car, get down, get around, get up in the cab and start talking to her. It's like, yeah, I kind of ran her over in a way. And it was like, she thought that was just great. I did all the work. But
Wow.
yeah, because I thought it was really a little bit of madness, I think, because it had been, all of a sudden, it was a pressure valve that had just let go.
God.
And I really didn't have a lot of control over it for quite a while. It was, everything else sort of faded into the background.
It's interesting you share this because I was wondering this scene in my brain. I was thinking like if I were you and I suddenly met this, same gender person who gave me such a strong feeling,
Mm.
do you have that bit of you that felt like, oh, but I'm a married woman?
Yep,
Like
yep.
I have children, like what
I
am I
had nine.
doing? Like
Yeah, I know. I had 9-year-old twins. I had a 13-year-old daughter still at home, and I had the 3 older ones away working and flatting and things. I know. It makes me wonder. I don't know. Yeah.
you
I
must be
just,
quite mad. Like
I
why?
think I was quite mad for quite a while. And yeah, but you know what? If I hadn't been that way, nothing would have happened. Nothing, I would have all fizzled. And I thought it was such a strong push or pull that I thought, oh, what am I doing? This isn't, I don't want to live the way I've been living. I don't, when this is there,
Mm.
when I can feel like that, why do I want to feel like this anymore? Yeah, you're right. I had children and I was married and I was in a community and everything, but it just all went out the window pretty quick. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. It was I know a lot of women in my position struggle for years, and they have all kinds of problems, and I think that the ones who suffered most, of course, was my husband and my 3 children at home. I look back now and I was very, very focused and doing what I was going to do, and I wanted to bring them along with me. but I kind of left them in the wake a bit there for a while, you know. And I still think about that because they were only small, and my teenage daughter particularly was a very sensitive girl, and she was really, really sad, and I think she was very traumatized for a little while, you know, that I was leaving the house, and I was lucky that I could just move up the road into a friend's house. It was an empty house, and funnily enough, my husband helped me do that because he thought that if he could move me up there, I would still be within reach, and we could work this out. He was always wanting to work it out, you know, and I understood that, but I took him away for a weekend to tell him that, you know, this is too big for us. This is too big for me, and I can't turn it round, you know. And he was just distraught. He was really distraught because this came out of nowhere, really, when I think about it, pretty much out of left field. There was one other time that I did something that I think, upset him. And there was a movie in Auckland, which is 3 hours away from our town, and it was a lesbian movie, and they were really quite rare still at that time. And I knew this was coming out, and I wangled a trip up there by myself to see that movie. And that was really out of character for me. It was totally out of character. I didn't do things like that. I'm not a highly motivated person normally, but that was really one. You know, you girls will understand this, Joe and Tris will know this. It's just, and I'm sure it happens to straight people too. You know, when you're.
Well, yes. If you're crazy in love, you can do
Yeah,
strange things, you know, like.
yeah. And the thing, I don't think I was crazy in love, because this person, I was definitely attracted to her physically and definitely attracted to her on a psychological wavelength, really. But I knew she was not the right person for me, and she wasn't going to fit with my family. That was the thing. And that became obvious as time passed, you know. Gosh, it was only about 8 months or something that I'd been jumping backwards and forwards. I'd even brought her home as a relation and a friend, you know, because that's what she was, a relation of mine. So I even brought her into the house, and she was just very disruptive sort of a personality, you know. And that didn't go down with my kids, and my husband didn't like her either, of course, naturally, because he sensed other things, of course. I think he began to sense things. I don't know. I carried on, and I had to go to Thailand, of all places. In the middle of all that, I got a job. I was doing kiwi fruit at the time. I was pruning kiwi fruit, and I ran a small gang. And this company came to me and said, "Would you like to go to Thailand and go to the King projects and show them how to prune, because they were having trouble with their kiwi fruit?" So I left and went for, oh gosh, it must have been nearly 6 weeks into Thailand, which was just out of the blue. I left all that behind. I thought maybe this will settle things down. You know, okay, I'm away. But when I got back, I was like, where is she? You know, straight away.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so I was my own worst enemy, really. She was using me in a way. She was one of these people who played a few games in her own way. She had a partner, and that it wasn't working very well, so she was trying to get with her partner again and then keep me on a string. And it was like, you know, it was all very drama, and I wasn't really into that. What really sowed the seed was she wanted me to leave my house, leave my children, and go and live with her immediately. You know, wanted me to drop everything. So that wasn't going to happen.
Not with a good mother. Like, you just can't do
Well,
that.
you just don't know. I could never. I
Yeah.
wouldn't leave my children, and I certainly wouldn't take them into her home, because that would have been the worst place of all, really. So yeah, but it was definitely so out of left field, and it struck me as strange as it struck him, my husband too. He said, "Well, what's wrong? You've never been like this." And I said, "Well, no, actually, I've always been like this, but it's just never been able to be. You know, I couldn't talk about it, and I couldn't. No, in
How
New
did he
Zealand."
take it when you told him about it?
Oh, he panicked straight away, really, and he ran around and he rang my mum and dad. He rang his mum and dad. He rang as many people as he could to tell them. And I think with the idea that if I had enough pressure coming in from all sides, it would stop what I was doing. You know, he could stop me doing what I was doing, and that was the worst thing he could have done, really, because I decided that I was going to then take the bull by the horns, and I drove 25 miles to my mum and dad and
Mm.
sat them down and talked to them and told them this is how it is. My mum got a terrible shock because she had no idea. She was speechless, really. And my dad was like lovely. He was lovely. He said, well, I don't understand all this. He said, I don't understand this, but I know you're you and you're still my daughter and we still love you and all that. And
Aw.
yeah, he was just a good, old-fashioned man, of course, but and he never did understand it, but that's all right. He accepted it, he didn't care, and I'm still his daughter. And then I went round the corner in the same town and visited my husband's parents and sat down with them, and they were very stiff and starchy and very upright people. But you know what? They were fine. They understood. They
What?
actually
Really?
understood.
Oh.
Yeah. And they were church-going people, but his mum said to me, she's the one who said, well, actually, I believe that sexuality runs along a spectrum, and yeah,
What?
you can
And this
exist
is
anywhere
your
on that spectrum.
in-laws saying
This is
that.
my mother-in-law,
Wow.
who
Wow.
was the most, she's very unemotional, sort of very domineering, like, very off-putting lady. I got such a fright.
Wow.
They were like, we get it. I went home and my husband must have looked at me and thought, what's going on? And I rang people and I talked to people. I talked to my friends, our best friends who we had in common. They were farmers and they were like, well, you are who you are. They were great. They were marvelous. Because I had the attitude I had, I thought, I'm going to do what men do. Men don't do guilt. Women do guilt. We carry the guilt and the
Yeah.
shame. We're
Yeah.
we're the ones who keep the home fires burning, and we keep it together. And if anything goes, we're the ones who feel guilty and shamed about it.
Mm.
I thought, I'm going to do what the men do. I'm just going to not carry that guilt. And that was actually a decision. I can remember thinking it in my mind because I was a bit political back then. I was quite reactionary and a bit feministy. I thought these guys have got it all their own way.
How long ago was that?
This was in 2000.
And what was the society's view on homosexuality back then?
There was a homosexual law reform bill that had gone through Parliament in the 90s to decriminalise all homosexual acts and things like that. And there wasn't gay marriage, but there was definitely a big thawing. But in saying that, Chris, New Zealanders are very conservative in their ways, very English in lots of ways. It was like a bit like your caption, Bevelyn. Don't ask, don't
Nobody
say.
asks, nobody says. Yeah.
Nobody asks, nobody says. That's kind of what it was like. I didn't feel unsafe, although we're very careful. Even today, we're very careful, especially women are very careful what they do in public spaces.
Mm.
Where there's no big raging gay bars in small town New Zealand and in small city New Zealand. In the big cities, yes, you're much more anonymous, and like Singapore would be millions of people and you can be more anonymous there. I connected with one girl that I realized was gay at school, and she was the only gay girl I ever came across. And I knew she lived in Tauranga, the city I was living in, and I by that time I'd kind of gotten rid of this first girl. I sort of was not seeing her very much because it was just not a good scene. And I thought, well, I've got to go and meet somebody. I've got to talk to somebody. So it was her, and she took me into a group of women who are my age actually and older, which I thought was great. And they were lovely girls. They were nice people, but they had lots of dramas happening in there. You know what it's like with small groups of women. It was a very small community. So this one had been with that one, and that one had been with that one, and it's like,
Yes, it's like that
yeah,
here too.
yeah. And I was like, oh dear, I don't know if I haven't got the stamina for this. I was too busy with at home still. But we did manage to go to that one gay women's meeting that we had in one of the suburbs, and that's where I met my wife, Mary. She had come all the way from Rotorua, and there's a big, huge group of women that all met up, and Mary was there to meet this younger person who said she's going to link up with her there. But that girl had actually organised for two women, Mary and somebody else, which Mary was most put out about. She'd actually teed up two women. It's like, oh, well, so if you don't like one, you can drop that one and have that one. So Mary was like, no, that's not happening. And so I just happened to see Mary and her sister and her partner sitting to one side by themselves. And I managed to get them up with another friend who I was dancing with. We got them up onto the floor, and immediately, Mary and I started to talk, try to talk. It was so loud over the music, and we just had such a connection straight away. And then we went to a friend's house after that. After that broke up, we went round to another lady's house who was in the group, and Mary and I just stood and talked and talked and talked, and she said, would you like to come and collect shellfish with us tomorrow? We've come over from Rotorua. We're sleeping in our van. And I said, I'd love to, but, I've got to go and do this job for the government census and that. So we only just managed to swap telephone numbers. We almost walked out without doing that. But we did, and she rang me and invited me to Rotorua. Honestly, girls, I do not know how I did this because I was still at home, but things had been really bad as far as my husband and I. He was very upset still, and he was out a lot, and he rushed into another relationship, but that was kind of like harebrained. I don't know what he was thinking of doing. And he was coming home, and I was still in the house.
You were still living together at that point, or have
Yeah,
you
we're
moved
still
out
living
already
together.
down the road? No.
No, I hadn't. I was still in the house when I met Mary, and then I thought, oh, I can't do this, because then I wanted to go and see Mary, and I went over for a night, and we had a barbecue, and I stayed the night with the girls, and it was like, oh, that was it. I was not going. We were we were so compatible, and it's like we had so much in common, and we just so enjoyed talking to one another, and so one thing led to another, and I thought, I wasn't going to muck around. I did not muck around. I've never been that forthright and out there, but I was, and it worked because Mary was quite shy in a way. She's Māori and I'm Pākehā, so I'm European, she's Māori. And so we did move in different circles, very different circles, and she's 14 years younger than me. Yeah, I know, Tris. 14 years.
It's okay.
I
Mine
know.
will come soon. Mine is still like what? Maybe still studying. 14 years.
Yeah. Well, it's a very small pool we pick from over here. Yeah. But I never even thought about the age gap. But she did ask me the first time when I went to Rotorua. She said, by the way, she said, how many children have you got? I said, 6. And she looked at her sister, and her sister looked at her, and she said, how old's your oldest? Because she knew I was 46, and she was, I don't know what she was, 32, something like that, And she said, and I said his age, and she went, oh, thank God. He's not. So, but it was really weird there for a while. Yeah, the age gap did not seem to matter. And so when I got with her, I was warned away from her. Believe it or not, I was warned away from her by other gay women. Oh, no, because Mary played rugby. She was actually a rugby representative. She played she represented the Bay of Plenty, which is the middle region of the North Island. She was a good player, and had she gone on, I'm sure she would have made it. But I was told, do not take up with a rugby player. They are the worst. They are the worst. They'll jump from bed to bed, and you won't know where you are. She was different from a lot of the girls in her rugby team. She was quite unusual, Mary. I think her mother's Māori, but her father, I think, was Pākehā, so she's half, and although she was reared in the Māori tradition, she was adopted by an auntie and uncle. Her mother over here is actually her auntie who adopted her. And that's how the Māori do it. It's informal. It's you don't go through signing papers and stuff. You just give a child to someone, and they rear that child, because it's a big family group. It's a much wider net than what we have. We just kicked it off so easily, her and I. And she was driving from Rotorua after work in her car, and I would be driving up the road to meet her, because we couldn't meet. I didn't want to meet at our house. So we just sat in the car and talked and canoodled and thought that was just lovely, but this is crazy. What are we doing? We wanted way more than what we were getting, So I decided to move up the road, and then she came and stayed she'd come for the weekend, and we'd go out. At the time, there was quite a busy gay scene in Tauranga, actually. We went to different things. We went to potluck dinners, and we went to barbecues, and it was really great. All this while this is happening, I'm thinking of my kids, and They were just down the road, and they would stay with me too. They'd come up and stay with me. But the poor little things, they didn't know where they were for a while. But I just kept them close, and I told them, that nothing's going to change. That Mum's here, Dad's here. It's just that we aren't together. Just like any divorced couple, I
Right,
imagine.
yes.
Straight or gay, it's the same thing, really. So yeah, and then I moved into a flat in town because I couldn't move to Rotorua because my children were going to school in Tauranga, and I didn't want to I couldn't uplift them. And it was a big enough jolt for them to just be where I was. So I couldn't drag them to Rotorua anywhere else. So that wasn't going to happen. And Mary was wonderful. She said, no, you keep your kids together and you keep them, everybody just ticking over. Yeah, so I moved into a flat. And then I went back to school myself. I thought, well, now it's time to go back and do some. So I went back and did my degree.
Oh,
Yeah, I did my degree because I thought I'd always wanted to go to university and never been able to, because of life and stuff. So that kept me there. I got that, and that was great. And then I thought, oh, they told me I couldn't do much with the degree I had. I had political science and human geography. They said, no, you'll have to go to a big city. You won't get a job here. You'll have to go down there, and you'll have to do policy analysts and things like that. Oh boy, well, that's not happening. So I did a secondary teaching diploma so I could teach in the secondary schools. And after 2 years of that, I thought, oh God, no, I forgot what I hated about school, And it came back. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to teach. I don't want, because it's old-fashioned teaching, it's the old English way of teaching, and they'd ruined a lot of stuff. We learned to read and write. We learned the 3 R's, and we had no trouble going through school. But I went to university with young girls out of school who couldn't write, who just didn't know how to write an essay or didn't know how to spell. It's really weird. But anyway, teaching, that was out the window. So I've got all these diplomas and things, and then I just did all sorts of odd jobs and things. And my little twins and my daughter stayed with me mostly. Their father kept the home. I did not disrupt the home. I didn't ask for a divorce. I just left it because I thought he'd been through enough upheaval. He really took it hard. He thought he had a marriage for life, and he thought he had everything planned, and it all, I threw all that in the bin kind of thing. And he went through phases, I think the grief stages, I didn't, and I loved him, but not in that way, I couldn't love him like I should have. And so when I left, for me, there wasn't this great emotional dissection, I would love to have been friends with him, but that wasn't happening either. He didn't want to know anything about me and for a while there. He wasn't rude with Mary, but he was very cold, and he eventually married again. And when he decided he wanted to get married again, that's when we did the divorce. And we used the same lawyer for the divorce. Because I was determined that I wasn't going to make anything a problem. I know the lawyer was like, are you sure you don't want another? Okay, I'll do this for you both then,
Did you get a discount?
What's that?
The package.
Did you get a discount out of it?
Yeah. Well,
I'm joking. I would have asked for a discount,
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. No. It was hilarious, actually. The lawyer was absolutely amused. She was like, okay, do you want to do this and you want that? Okay, you want this. Okay, right. Done. And that was just so he could get married again, you see. So, yeah. To me, the paperwork didn't matter after a while, I kind of left everything behind in that way. I don't know how you girls feel. I've only been married to Mary for 5 years. We officially, we've lived together for 25, but we've only been married for 5 because we just felt we didn't need that. That wasn't our relationship. Our relationship was beyond all the paperwork. Nobody's really asked me about whether I thought it was strange that we've been so long together and not got married officially. But I think we've done it now, and we've done it for legal reasons, and we have shared assets and things like that, how
When
you do.
was marriage legalized for gay people in New Zealand?
Uh, I think it was in the 2013 or 14 or something like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while now.
Mm.
Mm. I don't know. What's it like in Singapore?
Mm.
No?
Not gonna happen ever.
I
No,
don't think
Until
it
don't
further
say
happens.
notice.
ever.
I don't think it
Don't
will
say
happen
that.
not
Yeah.
probably not
Until
this
further
lifetime.
notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was legal.
You
No,
can't get
No.
married
you can't.
here.
Oh, hell.
No
Oh,
same-sex marriage. Yeah.
oh, okay. That's because I think of Singapore as a progressive society.
Look at how Trish laughed.
Oh dear. Come on, school me up, Tris. What's wrong? I'm getting
Well,
something wrong here.
I think it was only 2 or 3 years ago that they removed the law about men having sex.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was only a few
yeah.
years ago that they removed this.
Right.
So,
So that's not a crime anymore.
but it still was when it was in like 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
would say the
Okay.
religious influence here is really strong.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And yet, no, and yet, Tris and Joe, when you talk about your coming out and talking to your parents, you had a really, I mean, I know Tris was hard but her mother knew about you and she didn't say.
some
Oh,
mothers
might
are
have
in
been.
denial. Yeah.
I mean, definitely she wasn't open at all. Like at the very, I can
Mm.
sense it because, like I mentioned, I had a lot of many best friends coming over. So during the whole phase, she was just like, no, this is not happening. It's just a friend. It's just a friend. And then it got to a point, I was like, I've been with my current girlfriend for 6 years, and I kept mentioning her name. So she, I think to her, it felt like more at peace for her. And
Mm,
then
mm,
she realized, okay, I think it's about time to kind of reconcile with me. If not, I really wouldn't have talked to her about a lot of things. And ever since she accepted both of us, I
mm.
started really, being a lot more closer to her, and she appreciates that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So once they get over that little hump of what are we worried about here, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Kind of goes away.
Mm.
Yeah. It took 10 years for my mother to get over it. She didn't want Mary to be there, come around for 10 years.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Oh.
and she didn't well, she wasn't nasty or horrible or anything like that. And when I went home by myself, she was just mum, the same as always,
mm.
but she just did not want to know Mary. And so I stopped going home for Christmas and, things like that. And finally, my mother rang me one time and she was very upset, which is very unusual for my mother because they're not emotional people and they don't show their emotions much. But she said, "Look, I want you to bring Mary." She said, I don't want us to be like this anymore." And I said, "Okay, yeah, just like that." And so Mary came, and Dad was like, "Yeah, okay, we'll go fishing." Because Mary loved Dad because all he wanted to do was fish and things like that. But and when Mum got to know Mary, she loved Mary. She laughed. They used to have the most incredible laughing sessions, and I was like, "Well, what was all that about?"
I've done that 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, that's what you said about Singapore. The church is very strong.
mm.
In my mother's generation, very strong.
Mm.
Me, out with the bathwater. If you asked me if I was what I would say to a woman who's in her 30s or 40s
Mm.
and suddenly finds herself wanting to come out, my thing is just because it's hard doesn't mean it's a mistake. I knew it was going to be hard, and I do remember some hard times when things only around my children mostly. Those were my hardest times, keeping my kids happy and making sure they were together in them, emotionally. But I knew it wasn't a mistake. I knew I wasn't a mistake. And so if you ask me, I would say nobody, not the church, not the state, not your family, nobody else has the right to decide who you are and how you're going to live your life. That's your decision. I mean, my mum was operating on what she knew. And I respected that and I understood that, but I knew it wasn't going to be mine. You know, I was going to have to change my reality wasn't going to be hers. I hope that's what people realize. And I noticed it's quite strange because a lot of young people like you, Joe and Tris, are still have to go through the same stuff. You still have to go through the same barriers, you know? It's really sad that you still got to keep fighting through every time. There's bigger things to worry about in the world than whether, who's sleeping with who, to be honest.
That's
We
true.
got bigger problems,
Yeah.
much bigger problems.
I have a question because I think just now you said that you were, or maybe still are, a very nice Catholic girl. What would you say to people who actually really place God right and center? Like maybe in their hearts, they think that, okay, I can come out to everyone, but how am I going to account to God?
Mm,
Things like
mm,
that. Because maybe
mm,
other people will say to them, oh, God would frown upon homosexuality, this kind of stuff, which we hear all the time. So, how was it
mm.
like for you? How did you overcome that?
Well, I have to tell you, Bevelyn, that I'm not really even a Christian now.
Mm,
I don't hold with the male deities anymore. I understand where they come from, and I know the history, but it's all human history. I just can't buy into the male deity thing anymore.
mm.
If there is something bigger and greater than all of us, I certainly don't think it's male, in any shape or form. And you girls, I heard you girls mention the fact about being in the present moment. You girls have talked about it, and some of your talks about being present and about frequency, having the right frequency. I remember
Yes.
you were talking, Bevelyn, when you were talking about when you wanted to be a singer and you had to fight that shame about wanting to be a singer.
Mm,
And you said, well, I have to get rid of that guilt because that's not the right frequency for me.
right. Yes.
And I believe that our universe is conscious, and I believe I follow my girls on this. My girls are wonderful. They are very deep into consciousness raising and meditation and all those sorts of lovely things. And yeah, they talk about frequency and vibration.
I think
To
what you're
me,
gonna say is like being in alignment to yourself.
it's all about alignment, and it's to do with the frequency and
Yes.
your vibrational levels. And to me, that doesn't have a lot to do with God. I respect people's idea of a God and
Mm,
answering to God, but I think we've grown past that now. We've sort of got to mature a little bit more about things like that. Because if I look at my church when I was a good Catholic girl, there was an awful lot of good stuff about it that I liked and I adhered to, but there was an awful lot of strange, unusual, crazy stuff that I thought, oh, that just didn't sit right with me. I rely on my intuition rather than what they're telling me.
mm,
And so everyone likes to have a faith, and I have faith, but it's not the normal faith anymore. It's not the
mm,
standard faith. And I have no problem with that. And I don't have any problem with churches and religions, but I just see all the damage they've done. If you look at what the damage Christianity's done around the world, you just would go, holy mackerel. Buddhism, Hinduism, they've done way less damage to the global community than Christianity has. It's pretty horrific, our history. You only have to look at New Zealand to see how the Maori have been treated and how they were basically nearly exterminated in this
mm,
country.
mm, mm.
And that was all because of God. That was all Christian. That was all good Christian people coming from England and Ireland and
Mm,
wherever they came from. I'm not a good Catholic girl anymore.
mm.
No, I'm amazed at how many of you girls out there are, though. Like how many there are of us. I've been listening to interviews a lot lately, and women my age, and I can't get over the number of conservative, Christian, Catholic, fundamentalist families they all come from. It's always the same.
Yeah.
What about yours, Beverly? Have you got a conservative family?
Oh, yeah, very conservative. I mean, I'm straight, but my husband is British. And I think when my father first found out that I was dating a Caucasian guy, I had never seen him
Oh,
so angry in my entire life. His face was
whoa.
so red, and you could see all the veins here. He was, yeah,
Really?
he's such a nice person. Like he hardly loses his temper, but that was the only one time I think he felt a lot of shame because to him, like I'm bringing shame to the family just by
Mm.
dating
Yeah,
a Caucasian. Yeah,
yeah.
so
That's
that's
almost as
how.
bad as being gay.
Oh yeah, yeah, I would say maybe yes, but I
Oh,
didn't
girl.
expect that. I didn't expect that reaction.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think it's the level of conservatism that we have here for my generation and maybe older. Nowadays, no, not really, I think. I mean, for us, like dating other races, but I think for homosexuality is still a thing.
If we accept ourselves, then I find that acceptance comes quite easily from other people. If you feel good with yourself, you give off the right vibes, really. You know, anybody's in that situation where you're in your 30s or 40s, you have to find a lady said you have to find your people. The only advice I would have for somebody who's really struggling is find your people. And if you can't find, if your little town has got nobody in your town, then get online. Online is amazing, isn't it? Gee, it's all there, your communities, your Facebook, your YouTube, your podcast.
You can gain a lot of knowledge and courage as well, just by
Yes.
hearing about how other people who are similar to you overcome their barriers.
You know, I never knew until about last year. I've never done this sort of thing. I've never been online. The girls got me onto Instagram, and I'm only on it because they, you know, I keep in touch with them that way.
It's so wonderful to hear from a real person, you know, with a long history of, it's not just about, you know, being gay, but having been married before for such a long time, having children, and then finally having the courage to come out. And now you're sharing this story with us. And I think the one thing I can hear in my brain now is that love is unconditional. And I think it's in line with what you said earlier. Like once you find your personal alignment to what is your correct frequency, it really feels like love is unconditional, because unconditional in the sense that I'm my own being and you love me for who I am, right? And that is also in line with what I think, you know, the Christian or Catholic teaching is.
Doctrine. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
God's love is unconditional.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
That's right. I feel very grateful that I had the grounding I had from my mum and the church and in my, you know, my youth, because it kept us happy and contented, you know, and it worked in our society. It doesn't work so much now anymore. But like you said, love is unconditional, and I think that love is the religion we all need to adhere to most, really. All the barriers just drop when there's love in the air.
Yay!
Absolutely. You girls do that so well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with us to share your
pleasure.
story. So maybe this is a call out, you know, for anybody who wants to come to our podcast to share your story. Please do leave a comment below, you know, and we'd love to interview you as well. All right.
Lovely. Yeah. Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
Happy
Bye-bye,
Pride.
girls.
Spirit know the entity, they know who you are. They know who they are, they know who we are.
Who they're dealing with also. You have guilt in your heart. Outside you go and play around, or you drink, you smoke, or you know, gamble. The spirit not afraid of you.
A master really need to discipline himself. Catch my leg, no, oh, please don't chase me away. I say human in human world, spirit go to spirit world. So after my chatting, he like fainted, then he wake up, okay already.